Welcome back to Sun News Network. I'm Adrienne Batcher. We continue with Straight Talk here, and joining me in our Toronto studio is the National Post's Robin Urbach. And your piece in the National Post, vaccines don't cause autism or usurp the role of God. They prevent measles. Robin, I genuinely thought that the debate about immunizing your child, using the immunizations to help prevent preventable diseases was over. But then Jenny McCarthy, that C-list actress, comes along and she says all sorts of wacky things. You're hearing from a lot of them on the Twitter. I have no doubt about that. But now we have a very clear example in the Fraser Valley in British Columbia, and you've written about this, where there's an outbreak of measles. I can't even remember the last time we talked about that, but it's very real for this one community. And why is it? Because they're not immunizing their children.
Absolutely. It's one of those things where you thought, you sort of think about it, wait, measles, what decade are we in? Why are we talking about
it's like talking about the plague, for heaven's sake.
There are people getting polio now, what's happening? But yeah, as you said, this is happening in Fraser Valley. There have been 2 confirmed cases so far, and I think more than 100 suspected cases. So this is going on. At the same time, in Ottawa, there have been a couple of cases cropping up. Health investigators are looking into that. So yeah, it's something that we thought we sort of have taken care of, but obviously we have not. That myth still exists that there
MMR.
That the MMR vaccine has some link to autism, which has been thoroughly discredited. The medical journal that initially printed that study has actually issued an apology for that. Yet it's one of those things, once the idea goes out there, it's harder to take back, and that's kind of what we're seeing.
It's that notion that a lie has an opportunity to go around the world once before the truth has its chance to put his pants on. I mean, that's a very simplistic way of putting it, but the mumps, measles, rubella vaccination, going back to that original report, I don't even, the Lancet, it was in that, it's a very reputable medical journal, and as you say, they've since rebuked that and apologized. But I think what a lot of parents, and my son's 4.5, I couldn't not think of getting him help. If he needed it, that's just what you do as a parent. No matter how much you pray it out or how much you will out, if there's something wrong with your child, sometimes modern technology and science is the way to look. And I know we've had this discussion about it being child abuse in this country, and we've heard of some certain religious sects that will not use modern day medicine and the like, but come on, and if it's available, isn't that like abuse to your kids?
Well, the other thing is, we talk a lot about a parent's right to make decisions for his or her child. The problem with this sort of situation is you're not just making a decision for your child, you're making a decision for a community, because after all, we're talking about a public health issue. And there are lots of kids that, for example, they can't get immunized, even though their parents would like it for various medical reasons. And of course, young kids, very old people tend to be more susceptible, even those who have had the vaccine earlier in life. So, there is that suggestion that parents should be able to make medical decisions for their kids, and to an extent that is true, but we have to remember it's not just about our kids, it's about everybody's kids and the effect that it has on them as well.
And now what are we seeing in this particular community with Fraser Valley? We've seen how many kids have gotten it now? Measles, I mean.
In terms of confirmed cases, it's 2 confirmed, but more than 100 suspected.
Yeah, and do they see the number growing, or they're still in the sort of preliminary stages of looking at this?
It's still the preliminary stages. This case in particular, it seems to have broken out. A child went to the Philippines, came back, where they had contracted the virus, spread it to another child. Other children too. That school in particular is a religious school. So that seems to be the reason why there's a whole number of children who haven't been vaccinated. And that's one of the reasons. There is that religious reason. And then there's also that belief in that myth, as we talked about, that there is that connection between the MMR vaccine and autism.
Yeah, I just don't think that you're going to get rid of some of those people that just have that so entrenched in their head that this is going to, certainly it's a fear, and everything you do, any decision you make can be a risk, but I truly believe it's more risky not to.
And I was actually looking as I was researching for this column just to see, well, what else is out there? What else can I find? And you can find, if you want to find a connection between vaccines and cancer, vaccines and this and that, there's basically a blog that will tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah, everything is out there.
Exactly.
And now, are there any other alternatives parents can use if they don't want to go with the traditional, like MMR, for example?
Well, that's another problem that sort of crops popping up. A lot of parents do opt for so-called alternative vaccines. That title's a bit dubious because they aren't actually vaccines, but in that case, we're talking about homeopathic alternatives. And the funny thing is that Health Canada actually approves these vaccines, which I don't necessarily want to call them that, and basically it's just they work by magic. It's not actually a vaccine, it's a diluted solution. The idea is it's supposed to catalyze some immune response. That doesn't actually happen, but some parents do opt for that with the mistaken belief that they're protecting their kids when actually they're not doing anything at all.
Quickly before I let you go, tell me a little bit about this particular area of Canada, Fraser Valley. There seems to be a lower than average immunization rate in general. Is that because of certain religious values?
I think it's because of that. I think there's also that it sort of varies from community to community. If you're talking about what experts would like to see in terms of preventing a resurgence of infectious diseases, we're talking about 95%. Across Canada, generally it's about 85%. In this area, we're seeing 60 and 70%. And some schools that have been investigated, actually the percentage is 0 or point whatever. So there's definitely something going on there where the community just doesn't believe in the effectiveness of these vaccines, even though they've been thoroughly proven.
It's absolutely incredible in this day and age.
There,
there it is. All right, thanks very much, Robin.
Thank you.
Robin Urbeck is a columnist with the National Post and joined me in our Toronto studio.